Atepu, Namaste, Huru Nefer, Assalamu Alaikum. This is Kisakma Kaparu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to pick the right tarot deck. But before I do that, I'd like to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, hit that bell, that subscribe notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. You receive notifications of that. Also, if you're interested in understanding more about my spiritual teachings, we have free ebooks for you. Click on the links below. You can download the ebooks and start reading them today. Lastly, if you're not already a supporter of ours on Patreon, you can do so for as low as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You can cancel anytime. There's no obligation. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoterics, videos that teach you how to do tarot readings or be a diviner, videos that teach you how to invoke spirits for your protection, how to communicate with the ancestors, how to set up an altar, how to do self-hypnosis, how to do qigong. A lot of great, wonderful information there. So become a Patreon supporter. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. So Huru Nefer, I thought I would do a video and talk a little bit about the various different tarot decks and how you, as a diviner in the making, should pick the deck that best suits you. And there are so many decks on the market. If you go to an occult bookstore, a really good occult bookstore, you'll see that they may even have an entire section on just tarot, wall-to-wall tarot decks. You know, if you go on Amazon, you'll see a lot of tarot decks. Well, the thing that you want to look for, and I always emphasize this, is the iconography. Does the images speak to you? Do they look pretty like me? You know, it is an aesthetic appeal that can go a long way in helping you do proper readings. A deck where aesthetically doesn't please you can create a disruption in the energy patterns because you want your energy to align with the deck because you are, it's a symbiotic relationship. When you're communicating with the tarot, it is energetic, meaning that it is speaking back with you in real time. Okay, and if you're doing your readings with a deck that are not to your liking, then the energy will be off and then it will show in your readings. One of the things also to keep in mind is that you should be doing readings when you're not feeling well or sick or very tired, because that will also spill over to how the readings unfold. Another important thing to keep in mind is that if you're very close to a particular issue, for example, you're doing readings on if some of a girl or guy likes you, it is not the best thing to do for you to do that reading, rather have someone else do that because you are too close to the situation. And because you are a reality generating machine, you may influence the readings to come and unfold in accordance with what you wish to happen. And that's not the best results. I've done readings many times where I was very close to a subject matter where I influenced the outcome of the reading. This is why a lot of surgeons and doctors can operate on their family members. You know, your judgment is tainted and your perspective is tainted. So you have to be very careful of that. So you should always work with someone who can do readings for you, those critical readings. And you should get into the habit of doing readings for important situations. People will ask me, well, should they go and protest? Well, do your reading and see if you should protest. You know what I mean? Should you date someone, marry someone, move to a new apartment, move to a new city? Do your readings, and the readings will reveal if it is a situation that will turn out in your favor if you make that move, or if it will be disastrous. And you don't have to follow every reading. It's not a prerequisite, you know, but it would be to your advantage to not go to the oracles and not follow the readings. You should always try that if you're going to do the readings to come with it with a certain reverence and respect to where you will follow the readings, you know, because keep in mind when you're working with high oracles like the I-ching and the Maduna Tarot, it is the word of God. And you want to kind of follow God's advice because God has the best intentions for you. But when we are dealing with the tarot, we are dealing with a different type of energy because the tarot is specifically geared toward future predictions, future outcomes. So the tarot is not necessarily there to give you spiritual advice. It just merely lets you know how the energies will unfold, if they will unfold in your favor or not. So it is not there to being specifically to spiritually cultivate you. That's not its job, and it won't do that, actually. You know, it again will help you in seeing into the future, predicting the outcomes. Now, if you're really interested in getting into advanced lessons on tarot, you can become a Patreon supporter. I have outlined several videos that really take you deeper down the rabbit hole, very advanced tarot classes. And part of that too is we can actually, using the tarot, and I cannot take credit for this, when I was in Priesthood. Well, let me go back. I've told the story a million times. Let me tell it again. All right. When I was just starting in Priesthood, I think it was my first couple of months, my brother came into my room, burst into my room. He didn't know I was in Priesthood, and he started talking about the tarot, how accurate it was. And I was like, oh, okay. And I took it like with a grain of salt. I wasn't too concerned about it. Then I got hold of my first tarot deck, and I did the very first reading, and I was taken aback. I was shocked at how accurate it was. I was like, wow. So then I took the tarot to the Priesthood, and the members of the Priesthood kind of looked down upon me. They're like, oh, wow, you're using those tarot. You know, we don't do that. We work with oracles that spiritually elevate you. So months later, they secretly started pulling me off the side, asking me, could you show me how to do a tarot reading? Could you show me how to do a tarot spread? So at the time, I was living with another initiate, another priest, and he heard about it, asked me to show it to him. So I showed him the spreads, and he became enamored with it. He got addicted to it, and he started doing readings like crazy. And we'd be doing readings 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. And then he began to show me different types of spreads and different ways of readings. He would literally do readings on very famous personalities to see how their careers would go and things of that nature. And he began to show me some insight into how to do certain types of readings that really shocked me. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you can gather that type of information from the tarot. You know, and this was to diagnose people in terms of health, but also to look and see if they have the makings, or what we would call as alchemy in a way. Do they have the necessary energies, components to be successful at a certain endeavor? And you can decipher that from the readings, depending upon what comes up, whether it be pentacles, wands, cups, and swords. And specifically, he knew how to read the combination of those to determine if it was an innate talent that someone had. Using the example of the surgeon, I could do a reading and determine, based on that reading, if you had the necessary skill set, innate character traits that would make you a great surgeon. So it was really like phenomenal. I was just really taken aback by it, you know. And I remember him doing one reading on this singer, very well-known singer at the time. Who was the singer? I think it was Alea or somebody. I forgot who it was. But he said that her career will go nowhere, even though she was at the height of her career. And he said, why? He said, if you look at the cups and the lack of cups and wands and things of that nature, she doesn't really have the talent. And I was like, wow. So he was literally like diagnosing the metaphysical makeup of her to see if her career had longevity. And lo and behold, she's a no name right now. She's nowhere, you know? So very, very interesting. And although I've endeavored to follow in their footsteps and to use that, which I do know how to read it in that way, I never got as good as him as doing it. I mean, he was just phenomenal at doing it. You know, he's also an expert astrology reader. So he really just had a talent for understanding the underpinnings of how things work in life. And I've always, I've used that to diagnose people's problems, specifically relationships and things of that nature. But I'm saying this to you so you may understand how far you can take this. The tarot can be of great benefit to you if you know how to use it properly, and don't just use it solely as a fortune telling device, though that's what it excels at. But there's so much more information that you can gather from it that can help you and other people and benefit them. I do readings for family members and friends because I want them to understand that I'm at their service, that they can come to me anytime. And most of them do not because of different reasons, religious beliefs, prejudices, and things of that nature. But I make it a point to let them know that if they are interested in doing a reading, that I am here. And most often when, as the terms say, stuff hits the fan and they're at a crossroad in their life, they will come on the DL and ask me to do a reading for them. You know what I mean? Could you do a reading for me? This is a very important situation. I need to know the outcome. Could you help me? So, but back to the subject matter at hand and picking the proper tarot deck for you. Now, one of the things that you want to do, as I said before, is make sure that the iconography, the symbols that are laced in the actual tarot, the artwork, and there are different artists and you'll get to know them, is in alignment with your energies. Does it speak to you? Does it repel you? And in that way, you can then base whether you work with that oracle or not, or that tarot or not. You must also be aware of the fact that when you're working with different oracle decks, that the artists may have changed things, because one of the original decks is the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And that deck has been used as kind of the launch pad for many tarot readers, the beginning deck, the starter deck, the starter pack. And many tarot practitioners have used that deck as the basis for creating their own decks. So they have changed the iconography, the symbols, to make the meaning a little different than what was intended for. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally cool. But you must be aware of that, because if you're pulling a Two of Wands with the Rider-Waite Tarot deck and you get someone's deck, another artist's deck, he may have specific symbols and images within his Two of Wands that mean something drastically different than the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And you will have to abide by that meaning, I did a reading once and I was showing this in a class, and give you an example, the Two of Wands came up in one particular reading with the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, and Two of Wands came up with another deck. And I said, well, this Two of Wands here is saying something different. And that puzzled people when I said that. And I said, well, the intention that the artist and the author of this deck is trying to communicate with the Two of Wands is something radically different than what the Rider-Waite Tarot deck is leading to. And your subconscious mind knows that. This is why it's giving you that Two of Wands with a radically different meaning, because it is communicating and responding to your question. It's responding to the querent using the new iconography or symbols of the new deck. So don't think there is a one-to-one correlation between the Rider-Waite Tarot deck and the new deck you may be working with. Most times it will not be, and you'll have to abide by that and understand that, or else your readings will not be as accurate as you thought. All right. Now that I've kind of set those understanding and requirements and rules, if you're interested, like I said, in taking your knowledge to the next level, you can become a Patreon supporter and you'll get into more of the advanced lessons on the tarot. But purely for this video, we're going to just go into like the aesthetics, and I'm going to show you some of the decks that I particularly like and work with. And it changes, I may do a reading with one deck consistently for a month and then decide when a subject comes to me to change decks because I just feel the energy is different. It may require me using a different deck. All right, so that's how magic works. It goes by feelings, emotions, energies, you know. It's very, very fluid. People think magic is static, but it's not. So let's take a look and just take a deep dive into these different decks and see what we're looking at. So right here is the basic deck that you can use to start out, which is the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And it's pretty simple in terms of what you're looking at, all right? You have your wands, your pentacles, your swords, your cups, and things of that nature. Very, very simple, straightforward. And I do recommend that you start out with this deck because it really is universal and it's straightforward. It won't confuse you, in other words. And once you become proficient at this deck, then you may wish and choose to move on to more elaborate decks. And starting with this Rider-Waite Tarot deck, I moved on to a deck here, Easy Tarot. Very, very easy tarot. Very simple. Okay, see that? And most decks will come with their books, which you should read, which gives you a deeper understanding of each card. Okay, now let's get into the Gilded Tarot. And you'll see here that the artistry is different. You know, this may appeal to you and this may not appeal to you. Of course, the back is always the same. And the front. And the reason, typically, this is a Three of Swords, interesting. Okay. And the reason why, just so in case you don't know, is when you're doing, and you ask a question and you're turning the tarot deck over so you can't see the cards, is the reason you do that is because you shut down the conscious mind. Therefore, you cannot be analytical in terms of what you're picking. It has to be at random. And this activates the right hemisphere of the brain, the intuitive faculty, the Tahuti aspect of you. The will guide you to pick the right cards. So again, this is a deck that I've used. And sometimes I use this if I'm in a hurry. If I need to do a reading for a person in a hurry because I don't want to have to interpret the symbolism too much. You know, and this one is, again, it's very straightforward and it's very colorful and it really appeals to that aesthetic aspect within you, you know. So that is one deck I rely on a lot, I like. But I rarely use this one because I like to get more into the occult significance of certain iconographies, okay? Here is a deck I like, very simple, Steampunk. I just happen to love that genre. This is the book by Barbara Moore. All right, and we're pulling this out here. And this is very different than what you will see with the Rider-Waite Tarot deck and other decks. Very different. It's more of the earthy colors you see here. Okay. See if we can pick up all of that. And when you're working with the tarot and you're a reader, you're a diviner, you should never allow other people to handle your decks because their energy is coming from a different place. They can have very negative energy and that will be passed off to your deck. So this one is great. I love how it kind of in a way breaks the traditional male-female roles. And you'll see that in terms of how the women are dressed and how the men are dressed in this deck. See if I can get closer there. So the colors are not as bright. Now this one may require a little more study because you're not going to just look at that and know that this is, hey, this is Two of Cups. You may have to decipher it a little more, you know. And like I said, I do love this deck. I do use it often. This is the Moon card, which is great. At first, when I got it, I was like, what is this? And then I said, hey, you know, I like this. I like this. And this is the 10 of Cups. Really nice. Okay. Now, what other deck? Oh, another deck that I like and that presents a problem for me always when I'm using it. I ordered this deck. I was in love with it. Is the Tarot Grand Lux. Here's the book for it. However, this is the deck, and here's the issue that I have with this. The artwork, the artistry is wonderful, but it's so big, it's hard for me to shuffle. And that's another issue. You want to make sure that the deck that you get, you can easily shuffle with it, okay? You know, this always presents a problem. Now, notice how that card popped out. Now, there's an unsaid rule within divining that if you are doing a reading and a card pops out, you should always use that card. Look at this, look at the meaning and interpret it. So what do we have here? We have Two of Swords. All right, so I didn't ask a question, but just to give an example. So let's take a look at some of the images here, which is beautiful, beautiful. This is my favorite card, which is the World, which is basically the universe. You know, you can see the all-seeing eye there. I've shown this in past videos. It's just the artistry is just magnificent. This is the Ace of Cups. Yeah, beautiful goldfish. Now, in the traditional Five of Coins or Five of Pentacles, it can indicate poverty if that card comes up. Here, the artist has a hand reaching out, meaning that there will be a helping hand. So he changes the meaning a bit, which I like, because sometimes people get the Five of Pentacles and they get worried, oh, I'm headed for really financial tough times. But with this card, it is an indication that there could be some assistance coming your way. Wheel of Fortune, great. And the wonderful thing that I like about this is that you can study this. There is so much detail that it's worthy of intense study and meditation upon each card. You're not just looking at it and moving on. Justice. Mat. Ooh, one of my favorite cards. The Magician. Magical. You know. If I could show you, where's this one? Just to give you an indication, give me a couple of seconds here. Let me just, the difference between when you start out, I said you should use the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. There is the Magician. Look how radically different the two cards are in terms of the illustration here. Very, very different. Okay. And you should be actively meditating on the different cards and their meaning. And through your dreams and through your meditation, you will get more insight. This was a skill set in antiquity. This is a skill set in antiquity where we learn to read symbols and metaphors. So, all right, so that is that deck. Now, some tarot practitioners, and this is purely up to you, will read the tarot with the cards straight up. Others will have reversed. Now, the reverse card takes on a purely different meaning, a radically different meaning. It is up to you if you want to interpret your cards or have your readings done with them straight up, or you're going to use reverse cards. All right, here we're going to get into two decks that are my favorite, but often present a challenge to me. This one is called Starman. Tarot, and this is was inspired by David Bowie. Interesting. And I got this because I love the artwork. And you open this up, and you have the book here. Now I'm going to tell you straight off the back, and looking at these cards, how big they are. Shuffling them is always going to present a problem. This is the back. So this shuffling it's always a problem. But the thing I like is the artwork. And I'll be honest with you, the artwork is a mess. Let's look, for example, the wheel. It is so like all over the place. But I love it for that very reason, because it's communicating an energy. This is the Tower. Very disruptive there. You see that? Seven of Cups. Queen of Wands. Eight of Pentacles. Three of Cups. I mean, you could just stare at this and meditate on this for hours looking at this. So it's a very interesting. This is a Starman. Now, there is no Starman card in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck, so we'll have to consult the book to say, what is the Starman card communicating? What is it similar to? Five of Pentacles. So the artwork is just, to me, it's just beautiful, But this is the Moon. It takes some navigating to really understand what's being communicated here. And yeah, it's really awesome. Very colorful. Ace of Swords. The sword is in there somewhere. All right. This is a deck you want to use when you become very proficient as a tarot reader. Justice. Here we go. Justice is interesting there. All right. King of Cups. Whoa. Oh, this is Judgment. Wow, that's so different. What is that saying? Judgment. All right. So there you go. And this is another one of my favorite cards. The Hangman. Beautiful. This is actually very beautiful. And then we have another one of my favorites. The High Priestess. Very well, very green in a way. So there you go. That is a phenomenal deck. Very interesting. And it really makes doing your readings very interesting, very engaging. As I said, this is an energetic art. So it is a communication between you and your tarot deck, an exchange of energy. All right, let's go into another deck here. This one is very, very similar to the Starman Tarot. This is called the Tarot Illuminati. Eric Doon. Your book. Can't forget the book. This is very similar to Starman in the way that each card, that's the back, beautiful background there. Each card is very rich in terms of what it's communicating. Some people like that, some people don't. Queen of Pentacles. The Devil. Three of Swords. And the Ace of Cups. This is really nice. Ace of Cups. So you get to see here. This is Nine of Pentacles. A geisha girl, it looks like. Beautiful. Oh, I'm holding it. And look, let's straight up right there. And then closer in. The Wheel of Fortune. A lot to interpret and read there. So that is an example of different decks and the artistry. Which one you select is which one appeals to you. It's not uncommon to purchase several decks or a deck and find that it doesn't appeal to you anymore and you stop working with it. That happens, you know. Sometimes after working with a certain deck, I don't like the energy and how the readings are coming out, so I'll switch decks. Just a little bit of knowledge here. I don't gamble, but if you ever go to Vegas and play 21, when you see the dealer, they will deal your cards out, sorry. Now, if you are winning, if you're on a winning streak, what the dealer will do is stop and then change decks on you and then deal with a new deck. Very interesting, because the energy of that deck is favoring you. The odds seem to be favoring you. So they want to change those odds to be more in the house's favor by bringing in the new deck, which is horrible because they're stacking the deck in their favor and it's all a setup. Okay, so that is just an overview of the different tarot decks and what you should be looking for. You know, what's good, what's bad is all up to you. It's very subjective to you and seeing how you feel about the artwork, the energy that emanates from the deck. Does it appeal to you or does it not appeal to you? So think about that. You know, again, as I said, if you're interested in really getting into advanced readings and spreads and things of that nature, become a Patreon supporter because we have the tarot classes on Patreon, and you're going to learn so much more. Many people who have really dived into the oracles, meaning the tarot, the i-ching, the Meduna Tarot, Ifa, and so on, they have seen a dramatic improvement in the quality of their lives because by following the advice of the oracle, you avoid mistakes, calamities, disasters, and your life takes on a different course. You're on a different course, a different path. All right. And it's as if you can see into the future, and it's very uncanny. It's just the most miraculous and strange thing you'll ever deal with, because when you do your readings, like say, for example, you'll do a reading for the year, a reading for the month, you'll know exactly what's going to unfold. You'll know, like, hey, there's going to be a car crash. There'll be so-and-so will get sick, or the market will take a crash. You'll know these things ahead of time. And when you see it unfold in the real world, it is like you're a Jedi Knight with the Force as your ally. You have this power to where you can see the events before they happen. So it's miraculous. That's all I have to say. So I want to thank you for tuning into this broadcast. This is Kasakma Keperu, son of Ma Intuiti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Teru. Until my next video, Amen Ra. Or as I should say, do your readings.